Dawn bleeds into a gray road that cuts through hostile country. The convoy idles without fuel, metal hulls cold and heavy, crews stiff with a silent calculation. Maps on hoods show a thin line to safety, 23 kilometers of exposed ground. Engines are dead weight. Radios whisper with fading batteries. Every face understands the math. If the column does not move, it will be discovered. If it moves loudly, it will be destroyed. The order is simple and impossible. Advance without fuel. The lead truck rolls forward by gravity, nudged from a shallow slope. Men jog beside it and steer. Others jog behind, eyes on ditches and hedgerows. Scouts fan out with canvas satchels and hand pumps, hunting liquid hope in abandoned barns, burnt vehicles, hidden drums. A mechanic kneels by a wrecked half-track and twists a valve. Thick dregs pour into a mess tin. It is dirty and it smells wrong, but filters wait back at the road. Nothing is wasted today. At a farmhouse, a false flag appears on a captured Jeep. Painted letters and a smeared emblem aim to deceive from a distance. The Jeep drifts ahead as a decoy, a moving question meant to slow a trigger finger. The real column crawls behind hedges. Tarps cover markings. Branches are wired to hoods and turrets. The road itself is a weapon if used with discipline. No lights, no chatter, no metal on metal. Only the hush of rubber and the measured breath of men who know the cost of noise. The fuel station on the map is a ruin, but the underground tank is intact. Sledgehammers ring once, then never again. The noise is too dangerous. Work continues by leverage and patience. A hand pump coughs and finally draws. Brown fuel snakes into jerrycans through layered cloth, through paper, through gauze from a field kit. Mechanics taste the air and time the flow. A column moves at the speed of its slowest filter. Everyone helps or the road will swallow them. Rumor says that boiling fuel increases volume and power. The crew chief rejects the myth with a curt gesture. Heat thins the fuel and invites vapor lock. A cold engine with clean lines runs farther. A warm can with bubbles strands the entire column. Lines are bled with calm hands. Carburetors are cleared with wire. A single spark plug from a dead tractor turns a stalled truck into a leader again. Improvised science, proven under pressure. A checkpoint appears around a bend. Two silhouettes, one rifle, one signal flag. The decoy Jeep rolls first, hood high, markings half seen in the haze. The flag wavers, uncertain. The Jeep does not slow until the final meter. A crate drops with a loud clatter, nails, wire, and a broken signboard scattering like coins. The distraction buys the heartbeat the column needs. Engines that have been silent catch in sequence, not roaring, but coughing into a controlled growl. The convoy flows past like a river that found a new bed. Night comes early under low cloud. The road climbs. The fuel drops. The distance shrinks by inches. A truck dies and is pushed into a copse. Its crew redistributes to crowded beds. No one looks back. No memorials today. Ahead, a ridge line marks the last blind spot before friendly ground. The lead driver counts seconds between patrol flares, then moves on the dark beats. Everyone follows the pulse. On the final descent, the smell changes. Wet grass, cold stone, exhaust that is no longer a liability but a promise. The convoy rolls through a battered gate and into hands that wave them in. 23 kilometers are behind them. The engine's cool. The road is quiet again. What remains is not triumph, but proof. Improvisation beats panic. Discipline beats superstition. Movement beats fear. And even on an empty tank, a unit that refuses to surrender can still outthink the road. The convoy halts on a wind-blown road scarred by shell holes and burnt rubber. Tanks and trucks idle for a final breath, then die one after another. The fuel gauges settle at empty, and the silence feels heavier than the armor plates. 23 kilometers to safety, and the map offers nothing but enemy ground and a thin line of hope. The commander raises a hand, and the column dissolves into teams. Mechanics lead the way. They carry funnels, cut lengths of hose, canvas bags, and a brutal kind of patience. They move off the road and into the wreckage left by the retreat. The first carcass is a truck on its side, its engine block cracked, its cabin punctured by shrapnel. They pry open the fuel cap and lower the hose until it kisses the metal of the tank. A mechanic draws a long breath and starts the siphon. Bitter liquid rises, burns the tongue, then flows into the jerrycan. Another team gathers batteries, belts, and cables. Nothing is too small. A strip of rubber may become a gasket. A length of wire may make a spark where none exists. Fuel is life and poison at once. Every can is checked against the glass. Hold to the light. Look for the shimmer of water. Smell for varnish and rot. A canvas filter strains the sludge. Coffee grounds, bits of cloth, and a prayer to friction do the rest. The octane will be wrong. Engines will knock. Carburetors will clog. The mechanics accept that cost. They know the difference between gasoline and diesel by scent alone. One mistake and a truck becomes a dead weight to be pushed by hands that cannot spare their strength. Security fans out in a wide arc. No one forgets mines tied to doors and pressure plates hidden under floor mats. A private studies the tracks around a burned half-track and reads the story of a rushed abandonment. Boots drag at the edge of the ditch. A streak of grease on a fender points toward the tree-line. There is no romance here, only arithmetic. Every minute not moving is a minute closer to encirclement. The radio whispers about patrols, about an engine heard far away, about time that cannot be borrowed. The first engines cough and catch. The convoy breathes again. A truck that refused to start gives up its starter motor to a sister vehicle. A battery is paired with a hand crank and a cursing mechanic. The column inches forward, then pauses as a scout returns with news of a fuel dump, small but real, hidden behind a collapsed barn. The teams swarm. Barrels are pierced, liquid arcs into the cold air, funnels sing, and the ground grows slick. Someone falls and slides, someone laughs once, then the sound dies at the crack of a distant rifle. They move. Lights out. Speed held just above stalling. The drivers listen to the engines like doctors to a failing heart. Every change in pitch matters. A knock means slow down. A stall means push. The map unfolds across a knee in the lead vehicle. Landmarks are read by silhouette. A church spire, a broken windmill, a bridge that may or may not still be there. The convoy threads alleys to avoid the main road and its checkpoints. Deception rides along. A captured signboard tied to the lead bumper. Canvas thrown over markings. A dummy head in a passenger seat to draw the first look of a watcher who will not look twice. The last stretch is uphill. Fuel sloshes thin at the bottom of tanks. Mechanics lean forward as if posture could will combustion. One truck dies and is chained to another. The pair lurch and climb. The smell of hot oil years older than it should be fills every breath. A final turn, a final push, and the column rolls under the cover of friendly guns. Engines shut down. The silence returns, but this time it is earned. The distance was not conquered by force. It was bought from the wreckage with hose, cloth, nerve, and the stubborn knowledge that motion itself is a weapon. The road ahead is hostile ground. The convoy is down to fumes. Metal ticks as engines cool, and every tick sounds like a clock running out. Command gives a simple directive that feels like a dare. Reach the rail spur 23 kilometers west. No fuel resupply. No second try. The only asset left is deception. Orders cascade through the ranks. Tarps come off. Crews strip canvas from 2 wrecked trucks and rebuild them into decoys. Wooden frames, wire, and burlap become silhouettes of fuel bozers. Blackened glass bottles and a handful of carbide lamps will simulate taillights. Mechanics daub mud across markings to blur unit identity. Flags disappear. Numbers vanish. The convoy becomes a rumor of itself. Movement begins at last light. Spacing stretches to 30 meters. Engines run just above stall to save whatever residue clings to the tanks. Scouts move ahead on bicycles, pushing through ditches, laying down false track marks with nailed boards that print fresh tread patterns in soft shoulders. Behind them, a truck drags a weighted chain to imply heavy vehicles have already passed. The road tells an enemy observer the wrong story. Half a kilometer back, the decoy section rolls. The mock fuelers sway and creak, but they carry no weight. A small escort kicks up dust with canvas flaps that act as scoops. From a distance, it reads as a large element. If artillery hunts for silhouettes, it will aim at ghosts. Radio discipline is absolute. A captured handset bleeds a controlled burst of enemy language at prearranged intervals. The message is meaningless, but it paints the air with a shape that suggests friendly patrols in the opposite direction. The convoy rides that false shadow. At a choke point, the lead truck dies. Mechanics do not panic. Carburetor bowl off. Filter out. A teaspoon of sediment is the difference between motion and capture. They siphon half a liter from 3 vehicles, prime the line, and kick the engine back into life. The column never fully stops. Bodies push while wheels turn. The clock keeps bleeding. A burning ruse covers the next kilometer. A team sets a small fire in a roadside pit with oil and waste rags. Heat shimmer and smoke imply an earlier hit. The convoy edges past under the grim theater of a recent ambush. Enemy patrols avoid fresh chaos. They circle wide. The road stays open for a few more minutes. Those minutes are life. Night deepens. Cat-eye tape glows just enough to maintain formation. The decoys peel off toward a fork and clatter away into emptiness, their escorts stomping dust and rattling scrap to sell the sound of mass. 2 real trucks slip down a farm lane, cut across stubble, and rejoin beyond the fork. A simple change in axis defeats a probable line of sight. The rail spur appears as a darker cut against the horizon. Engines cough as the last vapors burn. The column rolls on inertia for the final stretch, brakes whining, drivers steering with shoulders in prayer. They cross the sleepers and coast into a shallow hollow where trees swallow the noise. No cheers, no relief, only checklists, head counts, a ledger of risks that did not come due. The convoy made it without fuel by spending nerve, craft, and audacity as currency. Deception was not trickery for its own sake. It was a tool that bought distance, minute by minute, until distance became survival. Engines die in the same second, as if a hand closes their throats. The column rolls to a stop on a windless road. 23 kilometers to friendly lines. No fuel, no rescue, no sound but cooling metal and distant artillery. The order is simple and absolute. Stay mobile or be cut apart before dawn. Scouts fan out along the ditch and the tree line. Mechanics step down with tools already in their hands. Every wreck is now a reservoir. Every abandoned tractor, staff car, and courier bike is a chance. Cans and hoses appear, thin as snakes. Steel caps are loosened with gloved palms to keep the sound down. Anyone who watches the horizon also watches the seconds. The first rule is pressure. Work fast. Work clean. Work quiet. Fuel is taken where it lies. Siphon from the lowest point of a tank, but do not take the last fingers of sludge. Strain through layered cloth, then through gauze, then through a field coffee filter if someone still has one. Let the liquid sit in a clear jar. Water will settle at the bottom like a bruise. Drain it off. If time permits, warm the canteen cup by a shielded flame to thin the fuel, but never boil. Heat is a tool, not a fix. The myth dies here. Chemistry does not care about desperation. On the road, the convoy shifts weight to the lightest trucks first. 2 vehicles will carry the reconnaissance team forward. They get the cleanest mixture and a double check on carburetor jets. Octane is unknown, so timing is walked back a degree. Engines will run a little colder, a little weaker, but they will run. A thin line of men pushes deadweight machines into a staggered formation that looks intact from a distance. A decoy tarp is raised, a fake guard post marked by a single helmet on a stick. Anyone watching from a ridge will read strength where there is none. Back in the ditch, the work does not stop. A motorcycle yields a liter that smells like varnish. It is cut with fresher fuel in a 1:3 ratio and strained again. The color improves. A prisoner can release a half tin of diesel. Useless for a gasoline engine, priceless for fire discipline and smokes. It goes to deception. A cook stove makes a low flame behind a wall of scrap. The column will look settled, as if crews are brewing tea, as if they are not moving at all. The first starter coughs and holds. A hand signal calls for silence and then for motion. Headlights remain dark. Drivers use red shaded slits. Speed is not the goal. Continuity is the goal. Keep the line unbroken. Keep the gaps elastic. Keep the noise level beneath the wind. If a truck falters, the next nudges its bumper to steady the revs, a metal whisper that saves a minute and does not draw fire. Kilometer after kilometer, the convoy drinks what it steals. Fuel math rides on the clipboard. Distance left, liters left, burn rate at reduced throttle, contingency if the scouts find another car half buried in weeds. The plan breathes and contracts with every kinport. A final bend, a stand of trees, a bridge that was only a mark on a pencil map. The engines are running rough now, but they are running. Behind them, the decoy fire follows its script and then dies. Ahead, friendlies wait with real fuel and real light. The lesson is not romantic. It is method. In the space between empty and moving, discipline becomes survival. Engines cough on the uphill grade, then die in a line that stretches across the hedgerows. The convoy sits exposed, 23 kilometers from safety, with tanks drained to the last spoonful. The light fades. Every decision now is a risk calculation, and the wrong one can burn the column to the ground. The rumor moves down the road faster than a dispatch rider. Heat the fuel, and it will come back to life. Boil the bad gasoline and drive out. Mechanics glance at one another. Some have heard it before, a barrack's tale turned field doctrine. Others shake their heads. Still, the clock is ticking, and the enemy patrols probe the flanks. A crew drags a dented jerrycan beside a folding field stove. A thermometer is lashed to wire. The flame takes, the metal hums, and the stink of fumes rolls over the ditch. The can swells. A dull pop as the cap hisses. That sound is the first lesson. Fuel that is heated does not become purer. It becomes impatient. Vapor pressure climbs. The light fractions flash off. That is performance gone into the air and risk settling around the men like an invisible net. They kill the flame. No heroics, only cold procedure. The senior mechanic draws a chalk line on a barrel and sets up a gravity separator. Dirty fuel goes in from the top. Time does its quiet work. Water and grit sink. Gasoline rides above like a pale lens. A length of hose and a steady hand pull the good layer off. A second team lines a funnel with cloth, fine sand, and charcoal cut from a burned fence post. It is not magic. It is filtration. Another team checks the vehicles for the real killers that pretend to be bad fuel. Clogged strainers. Bent fuel lines pinched by hurried repairs. Carburetor bowls packed with rust. A hand pump pulls a measured vacuum on a suspect line. The needle drops and holds. That means clear. The needle falls and then creeps. That means a hidden leak, air where liquid should be. They fix what the myth would have masked. Now a controlled test. The filtered blend goes into a marked can. The engine that failed first is chosen. Fuel on. Choke set. Crank. The motor stumbles, then evens out. A tachometer steadies at idle. No detonation, no vapor lock. The mechanic leans in with a timing light and nods. The convoy exhales. The lesson is written in the dirt behind them. Heating fuel steals the very components that make engines pull under load, and it invites fire where discipline should live. Filtration, separation, patience, and inspection move vehicles. Myths move nothing. The column rolls, headlamps hooded, engines square, leaving only a cooling stove and a circle of scorched grass as the last proof of a bad idea refused. Engines cough, the convoy slows, and the map shows 23 kilometers of hostile ground between stranded steel and safe lines. The fuel gauges sit on zero. The order is simple. Keep the column moving. The method is anything but simple. The mechanics move first. They strip wrecks by the roadside with the speed of surgeons and the calm of bomb techs. Hoses become siphons. Helmets become funnels. A battered jerrycan is split and hammered into a crude splash guard. Cloth bandages turn into improvised filters, pressed tight to strain grit and rust from the last sour liters of scavenged fuel. Every ounce matters. Every spin of the hand pump matters more. They fight heat before the enemy ever arrives. Radiators breathe through wire-brushed fins. Mud is scraped free. Fan belts are cut, flipped, and retentioned with a pry bar and a curse the wind cannot carry. Thin oil is thickened with a spoon of grease to quiet a death rattle in one weary truck. A cracked fuel line is sleeved with rubber torn from a boot heel and cinched tight with safety wire. The leak slows. The engine holds an idle that sounds like a heartbeat under bandage. Then the shooting starts. A burst rakes the ditch. The team goes to ground, then goes right back to work. One vehicle refuses to fire. Spark is weak. A coil is warmed against an engine block, wrapped in a length of rag to keep it alive for 10 more minutes. Another engine vapor locks in the midday heat. The hood goes up, a wet cloth over the pump. The line is rerouted away from metal that burns the hand. The motor catches and stays caught. Deception layers over mechanics. Canvas covers the brightest paint. Headlamps are blacked out with slits. Fresh mud smears over tracks to break the pattern at a distance. A wreck is dragged into a side lane and left as a decoy with a tarp that suggests cargo worth shooting. The column snakes past while the false trail takes the punishment. Night brings cold that hardens seals and stiffens hands. The fix is motion. Engines are rotated, not shut down. 10 minutes hot, 10 minutes rolling, 10 minutes coasting in silence. Fuel math rules every decision. Weight is the enemy. Non-essential cargo is shifted to a single truck and marked for sacrifice if contact grows heavy. Dawn finds the column inside friendly range. The mechanics smell like old fuel and burned cotton. The convoy is ragged, battered, and alive. 23 kilometers without fuel did not happen by luck. It happened because skilled hands made machines obey in the worst possible hour. The convoy stands in a hedgerow shadow, engines dead, metal cooling in the night air. 23 kilometers to safety, not a drop of fuel left. The road ahead is watched, the road behind is closing. The only chance is to make the enemy chase ghosts while the real column slips past like a shadow. Engineers move first. They lash timber frames to 2 handcarts and stretch canvas over them, painting fast lines by lantern light. From a distance, the shapes red as truck silhouettes. Lanterns are hooded with tins and slits, rigged to blink in a slow rhythm that suggests idling headlights. Oil from drain sumps drips onto the dirt in a dotted trail, each drop placed with a gloved hand to look like leakage from moving vehicles. Men with brushes drag a weighted board to press fresh tread into soft shoulders of the road. At bends, they widen the pattern, as if heavy trucks wallowed there. 2 spare tires are strapped together and rolled along for 100 meters to stamp a twin impression that looks like dual rear wheels. A detail lays down handfuls of ash for fake brake dust. Another team hangs strips of oily rag at branch height to smear a faint exhaust smell. A small fire burns behind a screened wall of ponchos. Greenwood smolders. Thick smoke curls and drifts low, as if from engines working under load. Scouts stage the soundscape with discipline. A starter is cranked once, a metallic cough, then silence. A gearbox is rocked by hand to clink teeth. Footsteps and muffled commands build a rhythm, then recede. Radio men work from a foxhole with a short aerial. They transmit a brief, believable fragment about a halt and a breakdown, then move position. The fragment is all an enemy listener needs to believe the mirage. On the far verge, a sapper team erects 2 more frames, smaller silhouettes to read as reconnaissance jeeps running ahead of the column. Covered lamps wink and then disappear behind a crest. Time to move. The real convoy pushes off by manpower alone. Ropes bite into palms. Wheels roll in silence. Axles squeak once and are soothed with grease from a ration tin. Guides keep spacing with hand signals only. When the decoys turn left onto the main road, the living column slips right through a farm lane, between hayricks and sleeping cattle, into black fields where there is no reason for a patrol to look. Dawn finds the decoy frames abandoned at a crossroads, boot prints scattered, oil trail thinning into gravel. The enemy follows the lie, stamping through the props with curses and confusion. In the distance, beyond a tree line, men of the convoy sag to the ground in a shallow ditch. They have carried steel for hours. Ahead lies the final rise and the friendly line. Behind them, the false trail smolders, still telling its carefully crafted story. Engines cough, then die. The convoy slides into a hedgerow, metal ticking as heat bleeds away. 23 kilometers left, no gasoline. Enemy patrols somewhere ahead. The map is worthless without fuel. The clock is not. By dawn, the road will belong to someone else. Recon brings a rumor first, then a smell. Kerosene and old oil drifting from a farmyard beyond the tree line. An enemy rear detachment passed through at dusk. They left barrels, tools, a guard who drinks, and locals who trade when the front moves like a tide. Survival is not clean. It is a ledger. The column chief splits the team. Mechanics strip insignia, smear dust across faces, and roll an empty truck by hand behind a barn. No engines, no silhouettes. 2 men take rations, cigarettes, a tin of coffee, a morphine ampoule sealed in wax. Payment for what no one will admit to selling. Inside the yard, the language is gestures and weight. A hand to a throat for thirst, a palm pressed to a barrel for fuel. The middleman points to dented drums and an enemy pump with a cracked hose. He wants food, cloth, and a promise to leave before midnight. The guard watches from a stool, eyes on the coffee tin. Mechanical discipline follows. A dipstick test for water beads. A drip on metal to see how it flashes and evaporates. They strain fuel through layered cloth into jerrycans, catch grit in the weave, count seconds on a wristwatch. One can smells wrong. They set it aside. Octane is not a number here. It is detonation or survival. A second team rigs deception on the road. Dummy silhouettes in the ditch. A truck tarp to look broken. If a patrol appears, the story is simple. Radiator failure. Waiting for a tow. No chatter. No lights. Rifles low, not raised. The trade finishes in silence. The guard pockets 2 packs and a tin. The middleman gestures to leave. The convoy relays the fuel by hand, can by can, across a shallow ditch. A mechanic doses the mix with a splash of clean stock reserved for emergencies, then bleeds air from the line. Engines turn. One coughs, knocks, then smooths as timing settles. Another refuses, then catches on the 3rd try. Movement now. Intervals open to 20 meters. Headlights stay dark. Drivers ride the right verge, eyes fixed to the pale seam of road against the fields. Every kilometer costs a breath. At the final rise, a faint glow marks friendly lines. The ledger closes. Food and coffee gone. Morphine gone. Fuel in the tanks. Nothing said. The column rolls on. Engines cold. Road black. The convoy forms a silent spine along the tree-line, metal breathing in the night. Every vehicle wears its mask. Headlights hooded. Slit markers like cat eyes no wider than a fingernail. Drivers sit forward until their helmets touch the rim of the windscreen. They will follow glow paint on the tailboard ahead and nothing else. The march starts with a gesture, not a word. Palms down roll. First gear only. Clutch in, clutch out, no throttle spike. The column creeps to 5 kilometers per hour, then 7. Intervals hold at 20 paces. Too close and one shell kills 3 trucks. Too far and the column fractures and dies by pieces. The road surface is a riddle under worn tires. Gravel becomes mud. Mud turns to ruts. Ruts to silence as the lead truck coasts down a shallow grade with the engine off. Everyone copies, one by one. Weight pushing the axles, brakes feathered, hearts loud. Discipline lives in the hands. Fists mean halt. 2 fingers cut the engines. A circling wrist sends a runner forward. Voices are forbidden. When a flare claws the sky, every vehicle freezes and fades. Canvas covers rise to break the shape. Men become stone. The light lingers, hisses, dies. The column breathes again. Fuel is time, and time is life. The mechanics ride in the last truck, counting coughs from each carburetor, ears tuned for a dry line or a failing pump. At each halt they slide under the chassis with a covered lamp and smell the truth. A drip of fuel becomes a cloth tourniquet on a fuel hose. A starving engine receives a mouthful siphoned from a can procured hours earlier, source unspoken. The accounting is brutal. Liters to kilometers to minutes alive. The scouts move like ghosts 2 bends ahead, chalking a faint arrow low on a wall, tying a strip of dull cloth on a hedge. Each sign is a whisper that the driver can read without light. Military police at a crossroads raise a gloved hand and point. No dialogue, only the choreography of survival. False roadblocks and decoy silhouettes on a side lane pull wandering eyes, but the column does not look. Eyes forward, axle straight. A stumble of civilians appears from a cellar, faces pale in the starlight. The lead truck slows to walking speed, horn silent, hand flat to the road. Pass behind me, keep low. The convoy slides past like a river that refuses the moon. Far off, an engine revs that does not belong to anyone friendly. The column tightens. Drivers switch to 2nd gear for 10 heartbeats, clear the open ground, then back to 1st. Patience beats panic. Near dawn, the road tilts upward. Engines relight in sequence, a metal heartbeat returning. The last hill is narrow and naked. If they burn too hot now, they will announce themselves. The order passes hand to hand. Maintain pace. No burst. No heroics. One by one, trucks reach the crest. The lead vehicle dips its hood and vanishes beyond the ridge. The tailboard cat eyes blink once and are gone. Night has held. The column is still alive. Engines cough. Gauges tremble near zero, and the convoy crawls into the gray of early dawn. The column commander looks at the clipboard, not for names, but for numbers. Distance to the next safe point, wind direction, temperature, axle weight. expected idling time at the choke points. Every entry is a variable in a harsh equation. Fuel math decides who keeps moving. They spread the trucks in pairs, each with a runner who counts revolutions by ear. Idle at 600, not 7. Coast on gentle descents with gear engaged to keep control. No one brakes unless a collision looms. The radio net stays cold. Engines speak loudly enough. A scout jeep rolls ahead, hunting wrecks and abandoned drums. The mechanics strip fuel lines from a burnt hulk, then drain the tank through a rag and a canteen. Sediment swirls like ash in old tea. The senior mechanic tastes for ethanol, not with lips, but with a drop on the nail and a slow sniff. He nods. Good enough once filtered. The convoy gains 8 precious liters. They plot the next leg on a paper map streaked with grease. Avoid steep grades, avoid soft verges, avoid towns that force full stops. If the route adds 2 kilometers but removes a hill, it pays for itself. The commander traces with a blunt pencil and assigns slipstream positions. The heaviest trucks ride behind the loudest engine, tucked close, noses almost kissing tailgates. Drag is invisible but lethal. They shave it where they can. Heat becomes an enemy. Under the midday sun, fuel expands. Vapor locks wake like snakes in the lines. They wrap wet cloth around pumps, lift hoods on the move, and set a 30-second rule for halted engines. Kill them fast, restart only on order. Batteries groan, but dead batteries can be pushed. Dry tanks cannot. A rumor runs along the column. Boil the gasoline, and it comes back to life. The commander kills it with a lesson. Boiling strips light fractions and leaves sludge. Heat never creates energy. Heat wastes it. The men listen because the clipboard never lies. By late afternoon, the numbers bite. 2 trucks will not make the final rise. They bleed them intentionally, siphons singing soft and cruel. 1 truck tows another through the last valley, while the rest tighten their file and shorten gaps. The sky goes copper, then iron. The final hill climbs like a wall. The lead truck chugs, then surges as the driver feathers the throttle in disciplined pulses. Gears hold, revs steady. Tires find a ribbon of gravel with less resistance. One by one the trucks crest, engines ticking hot, tanks almost hollow. At the top, the commander marks the distance, the fuel reclaimed, the lives not yet lost. The equation holds, not because of hope, but because every drop counted. Engines cough and go silent. The convoy rolls to a halt on the edge of a broken village road, 23 kilometers from safety. The maps say there is a gap ahead. The scouts say the gap is closing. Steel creaks, canvas snaps in the cold wind, and every second feels like a fuse. The column chief speaks in a low, steady tone. He sets 3 tasks. Strip the wreck at the crossroads for parts and fluids. Build a decoy section to draw eyes and shells. Prepare the real line for a silent push. No speeches, only work. Mechanics pull hoses and drain tanks into dented tins. Drivers rock trucks so the last slick ounces will slide toward the spigots. Someone finds a crate of enemy fuel filters and forces one to fit. Another team rigs a canvas frame and paints false unit marks with boot polish. Twilight closes over the road. The decoy section crawls away first with squealing belts and noisy gears. They light a single headlamp and leave it tilted to the sky so it looks like many. 2 men fire into the fields to fake a firefight. When the first answering shells arrive, the main convoy begins to move. Gravity takes the lead. Drivers ease off brakes and whisper to each other that every meter is a victory. Hands shove on tailgates. Boots crush the frost. At the low point of the road, a truck shudders to a stop. The axle is bent. The chief cuts it out of the line without a pause. The crew piles into the next vehicle and do not look back. Ahead, the pass narrows between black walls of pine. A checkpoint glows dull red on the ridge. The captured filters hold. 2 engines catch. Thin smoke hangs low and is eaten by the dark. The convoy rolls past the ridge in a slow, iron whisper. The decoy burns behind them and throws a false dawn against the clouds. Then a flare hisses above the pass, and the road fills with white light. Breakthrough or breakdown is decided in one breath. The chief raises his arm. Every engine answers. The column surges. Engines are silent when the order comes to move. The road ahead cuts through hostile ground, 23 kilometers of open risk. The convoy commander walks the line, hand on each hood, feeling for life. There is no fuel to feed these machines. There is only a plan to steal time. They roll on gravity first, down the initial grade, brakes whispering, crews holding their breath. At the bottom, the first recovery team splits off to hunt for anything that burns. Farm sheds, abandoned depots, wrecks still warm from last contact. Funnels, hoses, gauze, and a prayer to chemistry. They siphon and strain until the cans hold a dirty amber that smells like survival. Back on the road, deception takes the lead. Scouts drape captured tarps. Numbers are chalked over. One truck wears the wrong color to confuse distant eyes. Radios stay dark. Flags of convenience ride on antennae for a few critical minutes at a crossroads. The column passes an enemy patrol that never looks twice. Mechanics ride the bumpers and listen to the language of metal. Carburetors choke on grit and water. Lines need bleeding. A driver coasts beside a ditch while a wrench turns and a pump coughs, and then the engine catches. No one cheers. There is only the rhythm of acceleration and cover, a dance of momentum and concealment. At night, the convoy climbs. Headlamps are hooded to a slit. Distance is counted by telephone poles. The commander repeats the math in his head. Consumption per kilometer. Reserve per vehicle. Risk per minute stopped. A decoy truck breaks off and lures a checkpoint crew with staged panic and a smoking hood. While curious guards gather, the main body drifts by in darkness. A final slope kills 2 engines. Tow straps sing. The last reserve can is poured, filtered through a shirt sleeve that smells of sweat and dust. It is enough. The far trailing opens. The road drops toward friendly fields. Lessons remain. Fuel is not a liquid, it is time. Deception is not a trick, it is protection. Discipline is not a rule, it is distance gained. The convoy lives because every crew treated movement like a fragile flame and guarded it to the last spark.